Thanks for tuning into the All Funds Network podcast. My name is Mike Schroeder. Today I'm here with my co-host Skyler Steinke, and we are joined by Dani Lynn Robison. Dani is the founder and CEO of Freedom Family Investments. They are a vertical integrated real estate investment platform that has deployed more than $1.9 billion across multifamily, senior housing, and self-storage. Over 25 years of investing through every major cycle, 2008, COVID, 2022. Dani, thank you so much for joining us. We're really excited to have you on the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me here. And I am going to say one thing, that $1.9 billion is collective. It is not just Freedom Family. I always just make sure I'm very transparent and upfront right about that.
Absolutely. That's great.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Got to dot the I's here.
Yeah.
Dani, you started your real estate career in 2008, the worst year imaginable to start. So, walk us through how that happened and kind of what your first year looked like.
Absolutely. So my husband and I are musicians, and we went from college in Florida to Walt Disney World to cruise ships. And there was a point in time where we were traveling across the United States doing art auctions, and we were like, we're tired of travel. We've got to figure out what our next career is. And so it was me who went and explored different careers. And the careers that I was choosing was in the financial services industry because, growing up, I would grow up poor and so I always wanted money. And so I always was attracted to people who were successful, trying to understand the difference between successful people and how I grew up and why weren't my parents successful or have a lot of money. And so the very first career I tried was in financial services in New York Life, where I was doing securities and insurance. Tried it for a year, didn't love it. Then I went into mortgage, tried it for a year, didn't love it. Then I went into mergers and acquisitions, did not even give it a year because I was in a cubicle and making cold calls, and that sucked. And then I landed in real estate, and it just so happened that it hit in 2008. So it was an effort to go find my next career. What am I going to do with the rest of my life? And real estate is where I really, really fell in love. Happened to be 2008. Found a mentor who taught me 12 different ways to buy and sell real estate. And that's how I got started.
I love it. That's great. By the way, great background and being able to try new things over a period of time. That's really cool, I think. Experience that.
Yeah.
So I guess starting from your real estate journey, take us back a little bit. Talk about how Freedom Family Investments started and the journey there.
Absolutely. So from 2008 all the way to turnkey real estate, I learned I did different things depending on the market, right? I say starting in 2008 was a blessing in disguise because I did get to navigate a down market. And that is a real advantage, right? Because when you're navigating an up market and everything comes easy, it's really hard to navigate the down market. But when you start when it's crap, then the when it's a good market, it's really, really fun. So did a lot of different real estate strategies. Eventually, I was in Arizona, and we were trying to figure out what we were going to do next. I knew I wanted to go big. I wanted to scale. I've always had this unlimited mindset. And so I was like, how do I do this? And how do I surround myself with people that are doing a large amount of deals? I believe in coaches. I believe in masterminds. I believe in surrounding myself with the right people. So I started a free Facebook group, and I said, hey, I'm going to go find the people that are doing a volume number of deals, and I'm going to put them together for free. So I'm now exposed to them. They're getting the advantage of meeting the other people, and I'm going to be like the little fly on the wall learning as I go. And so that's how I really started getting exposed. And in that group, I actually met somebody that was in Ohio, and he was doing turnkey real estate. And that's where I learned what turnkey real estate was, which is done for you rentals. And he was like, man, Dani, you guys are, fantastic. You actually compliment me in different ways. And so would you like to, come down and partner with me on this business? And we were like, absolutely. It just so happened there was a big story going on about why we were in Arizona. I won't go there. But it lined up perfectly. Sometimes in life, it just lines up perfectly. We're just like, fine, we'll move and we'll go to Ohio. And so we went to Ohio, partnered with him, started doing turnkey real estate. So I ended up building Freedom Family of companies off the turnkey real estate model. I've always loved doing things with other people. And I thought, you know what? I want to build wealth for myself. I fell in love with real estate. So I'm going to do it for me. I'm going to take other people on the ride with me. This turnkey real estate thing is brilliant. Fast forward to vertically integrating, building 5 companies, and eventually learning that all I was doing was giving people really a second job because being a landlord really isn't passive income, right? It's a little bit if you have like, perfect scenarios, you don't have, crap tenants and you don't have abandoned properties and you don't have, maybe you have a volume number of properties. So when one single family tenant leaves, you're not stuck with no income and you have to pay for the turn and you have to pay to lease it back up again. I mean, it ends up being, a little bit of a job for people who really wanted passive income. So I decided in my journey when I was doing the turnkey real estate, I was learning about this and I had vertically integrated. So I was also running a renovation company, a property management company, and a couple other companies. Well, the construction company and the property management company, hell on wheels. Nobody wants to really intentionally build those companies. I mean, I didn't anyways. And it was such a nightmare. And I was like, man, this isn't really what I set out to do. And I talk about all that all the time now about intention and conviction about why you're doing what you're doing. During that journey, I got presented a deal that was a 56 unit apartment complex, 12 single family, and 3 duplexes. All I wanted was the 12 single family and the 3 duplexes because I wanted it for my turnkey company. I didn't know how to do apartments, so I was going to wholesale it. So I was going to wholesale it, found a buyer, was going to earn a $200,000 wholesale fee. This was during COVID. So in order to close on that property, we had to change lenders. So the buyer did. And the seller was not willing to sell me the properties I wanted without actually finishing the 56 unit apartment complex too. So I'm stuck waiting while we change lenders. And it ends up being 6 months or so later. And then we get to the finish line. We're getting ready to close. So I can have my properties. He can have his apartment complex. And he tries to cut me out of a deal. And I was like, hey, that was $200,000. This is a lot of work. And you just made me wait 6 months to actually get the properties that I wanted. And so I just, I don't believe in working with that type of people that will like treat you like that with just the character of those type of people. So I said, screw it. I'm going to buy it myself. And at that point in time, I didn't know how to do apartments, but I thought, hey, no big deal. We can translate single family to apartments. And I didn't understand what funds and syndications were. So I just put a private lender on every single building in first lien position. So in 2 weeks, I got private lenders on board and I went and did due diligence on all of it. And that first 56 unit apartment complex, we nicknamed Drugs, Thugs, and Bugs. Because that's what it turned out to be. It was a freaking horror story. And it was my very first deal, but it ended up being a home run. We can talk more about it. But that's how I got into Freedom Family Investments, what you know today, which is a fund management company. I ended up scaling back Turnkey because that wasn't really what was serving my audience in the best way. My private money lenders were the ones that were happy, actually getting passive income. I fell in love with apartments because of economies of scale. You guys know. And so it really kind of all morphed and landed me where I am today, where all of my investors do actually get passive income when we call it passive income.
I love it. I love it. Now this turnkey concept. So you were essentially before this, you were selling, are these just like ready to go properties that you were selling to people? They could manage them themselves?
Yeah, so they could manage them themselves if they wanted, but these were high net worth people who had professionals and didn't want to manage it themselves. So we vertically integrated. So we would go buy it with our acquisitions company. We would renovate it with our renovations company. We would manage it with our property management company. We would then sell it to essentially a high net worth investor who wants cash flow. So we would do the whole thing for them. And that's very attractive. And for most people, as you guys know, top of the funnel for real estate is I'm going to be a realtor or I'm going to be a landlord. That's how everybody enters. So if you're not a doctor and you actually have the freedom to go into the world of real estate, you might say, I'm going to take the realtor path. I'm going to learn real estate that way. If you are a doctor, you're going, I think landlord is the way to go. But how do I do that? I'm too busy. And you end up usually finding a turnkey company who can do all the work for you. And that's how you enter in. And then later you find out what having a rental property really is like. I don't call them just tired landlords. I call them tired and broke landlords. And and that ultimately, people decide that this isn't really what I wanted. And then they search for the truly passive route.
Yeah. Very cool. Okay. So you did this pivot. And then you're at this point, or I guess, coming back to the pivot where, 2000, you came across these properties. So you end up buying these properties, the drugs, then, I forgot the term you use. I like that. But talk to us about like, how did that go and kind of how did it evolve? So when you took this money from these private market lenders, these were like people giving you the money And then, I assume probably like a loan in the back end. Is that right?
Yeah. So it was just a private money loan, like you would do a single family house. They just lent us the money. We put them in first lien position. So there was 4 buildings. So we had 4 lenders, 1 per building, so that each one could be in first lien position, because I didn't understand how to do it any other way. Quite frankly, I was just used to the single family business, and I just didn't
Yeah.
know how to do it, and they didn't either. So it was just something we both knew how to do. It was very, very simple. So yeah, in 2 weeks we did our due diligence, got inspectors, out there, reran the numbers, actually partnered with somebody who had done apartments so that they could just double check the underwriting. And when they said to me, "Hey, if you don't buy this deal, we will," I was like, bam, we're getting this. And so we ended up closing, and then they were in the deal. So it ended up being like a 90-10 split. Like we took 90% of the deal, they took 10% to be able to just kind of tag along with us and help us if we ever needed it. Because we were in single family, it actually was okay. The drugs, thugs, and bugs part of it was the bugs weren't new, but the drugs and thugs absolutely new for us. We weren't accustomed to that. And so when I say that, what happened was it was a elderly gentleman that was the person who sold us the property. He didn't actually manage it. It was a literal drug dealer. And that drug dealer was going to subsidies and getting people out of rehab, bringing them, having them sign a lease, having them sign over their check, and then getting them hooked back on drugs. So complete like nightmare. So that complex was, it was just crazy. Everything bad that could happen that was bad happened. We had homeless activity. We had drug use. We had people breaking in all the time. We literally had people so creative that they would go up the stairs into the attic and then over and then back down in order to bypass our simple safe alarms. Like it was nuts. And the police were out there all the time. We had them on speed dial. They had us on speed dial. But right, like 2 blocks away, there was a 200 unit apartment complex that was full and beautiful. And when we talked to the police about it, they were just like, "Dani, it's just this complex. This complex is actually known for this type of activity. So it's going to take you a little bit to turn it around." But we ended up turning it all around. And it took a little bit to get the people to stop visiting the property. But we still own that property. And we just actually had somebody go and audit the entire thing, financials and everything. And he was just like, "No, you've done a good job with this property. This is a long-term hold for you." So we ended up making, when we did it in 18 months, the full turnaround, drugs, thugs, and bugs, 18 months, full turnaround, and ended up making $2 million on that deal.
Wow. It's amazing.
Yeah. And after that one, I was like, I can do anything now.
Cool. So from there, talk to us a little bit about the evolution. So you ended up acquiring these apartment buildings. How did you proceed from there? Did you, on to the next one? You cleaned this up too. I'm sure you guys learned a lot during this process. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. We learned so much. That's when kind of the light bulb went off that I really loved the apartments, the economies of scale. I was just like, this is it. This is what I want to do. Like all these single family, and duplexes up to, 4plexes. And I think we had done an 8 unit at one point in time. Like this is so, it's across Dayton and Cincinnati, and you're traveling, and, to have our contractors in one place, to be able to buy in bulk and stick all of the materials in a couple units while you go and rehab the rest. Like everything about the apartments just made life better. And so I was like, okay, this is what I want to do. So I built company number 6. So our turnkey company was 5 companies to be vertically integrated, and essentially Freedom Family Investments, what it's known as now, was company number 6. And that's when I was approached by somebody in one of my masterminds who said, "Dani, number one, I've been watching you for years. You are incredible at raising capital. And I've watched you build and vertically integrate everything that you're doing. I just saw you posting on Facebook all about this apartment complex and everything that happened. That's just crazy. I wanted to find out if you wanted to partner with me on a 389 unit in Daytona Beach, Florida. It's a syndication that I'm doing." And I was like, "What's a syndication?" I didn't know what a syndication was. So I said yes, because I'm always going to, when something presents itself and it's aligned with where I believe I'm going and what I want to do, I'm always going to just, say yes. And I'm going to learn along the way. So he invited me along the way, allowed me to be part of the GP team, raise capital, be a part of all the meetings, help with the due diligence, do all the things that you're supposed to do in order to be on a GP team. And that's how I learned. And so it was a 389 unit. That was the first time I introduced that to my audience. They're used to turnkey real estate. They're not used to any of this. So it was the first time I got to talk about what a syndication was and educate them. We kept it very, very simple. We did a straight pref. We didn't do any equity. We didn't do waterfalls or hurdles or anything like that. We didn't make it confusing because that wasn't my audience. And so it ended up being okay. And I would say about, I don't know, a certain percentage of people said to me, Dani, I'm going to go along with you. Like, I've been with you long enough. I trust you. And I trust the decisions that you make when you do something new. And sounds, really exciting. Another percentage of them were like, we're going to watch you do it and we're going to see if you succeed. And if you succeed, then we'll join you on the next ride. So that's really what built company number 6. So I went from a 56 unit doing it all by myself, drugs, thugs, and bugs, all the way up to a very first syndication co-GPing on that deal on a 389 unit in Florida.
I love it. It's really impressive just to hear about your evolution, and it's inspiring. I mean, even for somebody like me, I just have a couple real estate properties, but love to continue building that portfolio over the years.
100%.
So it's great to see it's possible.
Yes.
Let's talk about the current structure. So the current fund structure is essentially set up as like a debt fund, right?
A little bit. Yeah. Almost exactly. Because when I describe it, people are like, why didn't you just do a debt fund? So it is like pref equity. It's 8 to 14%. We have an income track and we have a growth track. And we did that for simplicity. Again, I'm really big on simplicity. I believe that easier things are, especially to understand, and the less confused people are in order to try something new, the more likely it is that they're going to say yes. And everybody that has worked with me has always started small. Like, trust is part of the process, right? But also being able to explain something in a way that they feel like they've got the confidence in taking that first step, especially if they haven't done it before, was really, really key. So I've set up literally everything that I do in that manner, so that it's just it's easy for them to understand exactly what they're getting. It's always aligned in terms of a pref, so that they're getting paid before I do. We don't charge any admin fees. That's something that may change in the future, but it was just one of those things that I thought going in. I just want to make sure that people feel the alignment in terms of they're trusting me with their money. So not only do they need to trust who I am as a person and trust my ability to succeed on these deals, but they need to feel like I've got the incentive to succeed and to protect their capital and give them the returns that I'm promising them. So that's why I've structured it the way I have.
Yeah. I love it. And I mean, to your point too, it's, these people are looking for income in a lot of cases. It's not always just, like you used to have the turnkey where, people would end up putting down the capital, then they have to work for it, or, hire a management company to work for it. Now it's just invest and earn.
Yes, exactly right.
Much, a much simplified model for those folks.
Yeah, 100%.
Cool. When it comes to your investors, let's talk about how they can invest in the fund. Is it, are these all accredited investors? In terms of like investing, could are people able to invest their IRAs, 401ks? I'll just let you take it from the top. Kind of, what do your investors look like?
Yeah, absolutely. So they are accredited investors for the fund specific. It is a 506c. And that's the Freedom Notes. We also have a liquidity fund for people who are in between deals and just want to park their cash for a short amount of time. And then we have other programs as well for non-accredited investors. So we just tell people, we encourage them, give us a call, jump on, the phone with us for 15 minutes so we can understand who you are, what your goals are. Have you defined what it is that you want to achieve, what freedom looks like for you? Because, sometimes people haven't asked all those questions or decided where they want to go and what they want to do. They don't understand what the dollars should be doing in terms of how the market behaves, what the job is that they want it to do. And so that's really what we do on the very first call instead of actually talking about a product. So then on a second call, if they like us, then we can start discussing, hey, this is what we think could actually help you. Or we just show them what the options are and then let them, navigate what that looks like. So Accredited, non-accredited. Obviously, when you're non-accredited, we have to have multiple conversations, establish that substantive relationship, all the fun SEC rules that have to happen in order for us to work together. And then, we just, the goal for us is really, is it a fit? Does it work for you? Are we a fit for you in what you're trying to accomplish? And that's it.
Yeah, that's a really good point, because I think a lot of people are, maybe a lot of other fund managers might be in, hey, we just want the capital, versus your approach is kind of more, let's make sure it's a mutual fit. Kind of talk to us about how you built up the I guess audience or investor base, if you will, for your fund, because I think that was one of the most interesting things when I was talking to you initially, kind of how you went about that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's actually something that we've gone back to. It's the organic path. We did it through word of mouth and a podcast. That's it. And we raised over $35 million. Yeah, raised over $35 million. Yeah, just that way. And that's really when I started talking to other people, and they're like, Dani, that's a lot of money to be raising word of mouth and podcast. And so I was like, really? Okay. And so that's where I decided, okay, I really want to grow this company. I want to scale it. And that's where I made a mistake and departed from that method, not completely, but said, okay, I want to scale. Let me hire professional marketing people to do what they know how to do, and I'll invest the capital to be able to actually grow this company. But especially as the market goes up and down, what's true is always true, and that is this business is about trust, and more than that, it's about character. And who you're investing with matters more than anything else. And so the right way to build was through word of mouth and through a podcast, because it allowed people to really get to know me and really start in a way that they got to experience it, and then they got to share it with their friends or family or colleagues and their peers. And the podcast, same with him. The podcast host ended up investing with me, and he's like, I've been with Dani for, I don't even know how many years we've been together now. But that's really the way to grow anything. And so I invested so much money trying to scale in a way that did not work. And so I am right back to, hey, this is about relationships. This is about other people. This is about trust and character. This is about word of mouth. It's about fund to fund managers who say, I look at you, I believe in you, I trust you, I like what you're doing, and saying, I want to align with you because I want my investors actually aligned with somebody that's building the way that you are. That's what it's all about. So I've taken the full circle of did it right, then made a mistake, and I'm going back to doing it right again.
Yeah, that's really cool. I think obviously Mike and I talked to a lot of fund managers in general, and capital raising conversation always comes up, and it can be cumbersome and painful. And you obviously have found a way to kind of circumvent that issue, being kind of how you started in real estate, more of a partnership, more of a trust mechanism. Is that kind of how you think about it versus the traditional fund raise process?
100%. I have been talking to a few people. This is some gold nuggets for fund managers who might be listening, who are wanting to raise capital. I talked to two people in the last probably 3 months. One of them both of them built the same way. One of them's like, man, I can send an email and raise $35 million. And he's been doing it for years, and it's all about trust and character and his track record. And the other guy was just like, I've raised over $200 million this year. When people are complaining about not being able to raise, and he's done it through his network and his relationships and the people that do work with him. So it is possible. You just got to build the right way.
I love that. And obviously having it as a podcast, obviously we can relate to that in general from a podcast perspective. What are kind of some thought processes going into, just being yourself, putting out content, telling your story? What does that look like at early stage when you first started that process?
Yeah. So for me, it's borrowed trust. When I was first starting, I didn't have the track record, right? So I had to align with the guy doing the 389 unit, right? And we were aligning with a 40-year operator that came from Wall Street that was like, hey, I would love to work with you guys. You guys are cheaper money than the Wall Street guys. And so that's how we started. We said, here's what we're doing. I just did this 56 unit apartment complex. Here's how it turned out. Thank God a story that could have been hell turned out good, and we actually did make money, and we paid back our private money lenders in record time. So we had that going for us, the turnkey background. Then we partner with a 389 unit with a 40-year operator. We've got that track record, and then we succeed. That was like 21 months, and we ended up cashing people out right at the top of the market, and fully all capital back, everything. We recapitalized that at, like, I think it was 43 million, sold it at 56 million in like 21 months. Like it was the right time. That was a good market, right? Everybody was winning in that market, and we sold it right at the top. So that's what I think it really has to be when you're starting out, is just aligning yourself with the right people so that you can borrow their trust. So that when you are talking to somebody, and you can't say, look at my track record. You can say, look, I'm with you guys. I'm with Dani, and these guys have this track record. Dani has this track record. And so I want you to trust them, and I'm going to go along for the ride. And if they want to be an active investor and operate themselves, they get to learn, right? While they bring capital to a deal, and then they get to start doing, small deals on their own and grow, just like all of us do. We all go on this journey pretty much the same way. It's just faster when you have borrowed credibility, and you can team up with somebody who's got the track record that you can leverage.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's really good advice for somebody that's just starting out and been growing in the business. Dani, let's talk about the current state of things. So what is there any particular markets that you're most excited about?
Yeah, I like the Midwest. Obviously, my offices are in Ohio, so I love the Midwest. That's my backyard. That's where we vertically integrated. So we still are operators there in that area. I also love the Sun Belt. I love Texas. So those are really the areas where we're going to find most of our deals and most of our partnerships. And in terms of, that's like geography. In terms of asset classes, it is hard to raise capital. It's harder to raise capital right now. It's not impossible. If you align with the right people, it's not impossible. And it's actually not that hard at all, because you've got that trusted network, and trust is what allows all things to happen. But it also has to do with your asset classes. What are you investing in? And do the people believe in what you're investing in? This is part of the conversation, like at the very, very beginning, is, what are you trying to achieve, and why are you making the decisions that you've made? Because I like to say that many people who are in this space, they have a financial junk drawer. And it's because they're like, I'm going to invest in this. I'm going to invest in this. And this guy said that this was a good idea. This one's got a good return. This is a new market. Oh, I'm supposed to diversify. So I shouldn't be with the same operator. I need to switch to another operator. And they just listen to all of these things. And they've got all of these deals in this drawer that they don't even understand why they invested with them in the first place. And they didn't do proper due diligence in terms of, I always say, operator first, and check trust and character first before everything else. Then go to track record. Like, there's an order in which I do all things when I'm vetting people. So for our asset classes, given the market, I believe in needs-based real estate. So essential real estate, things that no matter what's going to happen, whether it's up or down, everybody's going to need a roof over their head. So we love multifamily, even though multifamily is not easy. It's not penciling in a lot of cases right now, but I think over the next 2 years, there is going to be more opportunity. But it's not a bulk of what we're finding right now. Senior housing, big, like we're going all in on senior housing. I mean, the silver tsunami, and like, that's just a tidal wave of ripple effects all the way up to 2040, just for the baby boomers. But beyond that, think about the generation right below them, the 55-year-old daughter that's actually taking care of their parents right now and looking for senior care. They're on the ride right after that. Like, this is not something that's going to go away. And the better you are, and the more expertise and mastery you have around it, and you're thinking about AI and how that's going to affect it, this is just one of those asset classes that you can pour your money in and not worry about where the economy is at. This is health, right? This is aging. That's not going to stop. So really hardcore believe in that. We also believe in self-storage. Specifically, we're falling in love with small bay industrial flex for specific reasons around certain areas. There's an entire strategy around that. But those are the conversations that we're having with people. Is like, why are you investing in that? What are your dollars doing? What are you trying to achieve? Like, define all of that, because when tough times come, and they will come, we're always going to have up markets. We're always going to have down markets. And when tough times come, people get emotional. And I recently wrote a book that just released, and it's called Calm Money Never Panics. And a lot of it is about like this panic tax, where people are they get emotional and they don't make decisions. They'll sit on their hands maybe, and now they're losing money to, inflation, or lost opportunity of what they could be doing. And there's so many reasons people panic. And so that's what all of that is about. But if you have conviction, I chose this operator because I chose income track because I chose growth track because I chose this asset class because and when you start defining exactly what you want and you said this is what freedom means to me, this is the number I have to achieve in order for me to choose to work, not have to work. I'm not creating a second prison that's just more expensive because I keep chasing a number or chasing a future or an ideal that somebody else has. I'm not inheriting somebody else's beliefs. Like so much of that happens, that once people actually answer their own questions for real, then they stop panicking. They actually get really, really intentional and stop moving their money around, and then suddenly have that freedom and peace of mind that we're all chasing, but so few of us actually get there because we don't know how to define it from the start.
Cool. One of the more interesting things that you just brought up in particular was senior housing. Um, what does that look like for you guys? How many senior homes do you own, and what is the learning curve for something like that? Because from the outside in, I would assume it's pretty drastic.
It is, and that's why we're not going to become the experts at it. Well, we're going to have expertise around it, but we're going to partner with the operators who have the track record, who have the mastery around it. So that's something that I've learned as a fund manager is if you really want to scale and you want to diversify the asset classes that you're investing in, you do have to partner with other best-in-class operators, right? I'm not going to become a master at all three asset classes. I know multifamily. I know it very well. I can operate it in my own backyard, but I'm also not going to do multifamily in Georgia. And I'm not going to do new development or A class. There's just that I'm going to do value add. What I'm just going to do what I am really great at, and then I'm going to partner with best in class. And as a fund manager, that's how you scale as well, because I couldn't be an operator and be able to scale. So for us, senior family, we just know the opportunity. We know the track record it's going to have in terms of the future and our ability to invest our own capital and other people's capital into it. We know the passion that it brings to a lot of people right now because they relate to it, right? It's not storage, it's not multifamily. Like they literally understand it from a human perspective, so they're now attached to that story as well. And so for us, it is partnering with the right people, vetting the right people. We can talk about how we do that, because it's operator first at all times, especially in senior housing. That's there's a deal that so we have a one senior housing facility right now. We're about to close on another one in Florida. We haven't closed on it yet, but there's a deal that I want to share, and this is specific to senior housing and how strict I think that you should be if you're going to be in this asset class. So we were working with a operator who had probably 20, 25 years experience in the senior housing space. We were partnering with him as a GP on a deal, and I can't even remember what city it was, but he had chosen not to be an operator because he hadn't been an operator in this particular city. And so we thought that's smart because you don't have the vendor relationships. You don't know what's going on in that city. You don't know what works, what doesn't. And we know location, location, location. We know markets are different. Multifamily may be great here, but not great here, and just okay here. So you have to be boots on the ground. And so he wasn't boots on the ground there, even though he had 20, 25 years experience in the industry. So we thought, okay, you're making good decisions. We want to do this. 2 weeks before closing, he decides he's going to let that operator go, and he wants to do it. He's like, I actually want to be the operator here. And so we had full capital. We were all ready to close, and we backed out. Why? Because I think that's risky. I think it's risky to go into a brand new market, especially in that space, and take over something that you don't understand yet. Like if he would have said, I want to take this over maybe a year or two after we've all had the experience of watching what happens in that market. We've established the vendor relationships. That would be totally different. But to do that last minute, that's how critical I think that asset class is in terms of the scrutiny you should put on it when you're working with somebody.
Absolutely. And what is your role? Is it more just purchasing these buildings, developing these buildings, and then eventually, finding that operator to collaborate, or kind of what does it look like from your end?
Yeah. So on the GP team, it depends on what I bring to the table. So I do have a developer in my team. So we can do A class. We've got the operational skills. We've got operational partners that don't do syndications on their own that we could tap into if we wanted to do the deal 100% by ourselves. But many times I am coming in as a co-GP. So it is other syndicators that I know, like, and trust, have the track record that I'm looking for in the asset class and the markets that I'm looking for. And we've like had a pre-discussion and said, hey, I like what you're doing. I've fully vetted you now. If you have a deal that fits this, these parameters, bring it. I would love to be, on your GP team and actually bring all the capital to the deal.
That's very cool. What does it look like from a partnership perspective over time as you're making decisions? Maybe there's an exit strategy based on certain markets, as you talked about earlier. You communicate more so to your investors as partners, or what does that look like?
Yeah. So we ask our investors to trust us because we are the experts, right? Most of them are
Right.
physicians, attorneys, whatever high net worth career that they have. They're the expert in that. And I have actually one of my physicians, makes a joke, about investments where he's lost money because he just didn't know the right due diligence, and he didn't know how to vet the operator or, ask these particular questions. And he's just like, you know what? This is not my gig. I don't expect Dani to come in here and pretend she knows how to be a doctor, to pretend she knows how to do my job. So there's no way that I'm going to go and pretend to know her job. And I think we all have to understand in life when we're putting our trust in somebody else's expertise. So when it comes to our investors, they do trust us to make the right decisions. It's why I love that we're not just a capital raiser, that we are an operator, that that's how we cut our teeth. Like, we know how to do the deals. We know how to get screwed because we have been screwed, and we know how to, have the processes in place and do the double checks and all of those things. I think that's really, really important because anything in life, you're going to make mistakes. Anything in life, you're going to have this learning curve. Even if you are surrounding yourself with coaches and masterminds, you still are going to make mistakes, and we're still human. So knowing that going in, being honest and transparent about it, and being okay with it, I think is really, really important. And that's actually where trust is built, because the last thing people want to hear is, I've got a perfect track record. I've never had a bad deal. I've a 100% payout track record. I've maintained distributions through this, and we are actually able to say a lot of that. But I also am the first one to go, here's where we failed, and here's what happened to the investor. Here's what happened to us. Here's what happened to the deal. And it's those stories that actually build the trust, that people say, okay, they want to know that you're human. They want to know that you're okay talking about your mistakes, because that's where they feel like, okay, I can protect this person with my money, because they're going to fight and they're going to navigate the tough times when they come.
Yeah, absolutely. Weathering those tough times, has a great credibility with the experience that you've learned over time, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Very important.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Dani, to kind of pivot to the mindset, part of this podcast. You're at 8 Masterminds. What keeps you going back, and what do you think most investors, get wrong about how to learn?
What keeps me going back is constantly wanting to be better, because there's always something to learn, and there's always somebody to learn from. It's also the relationships. I wouldn't have been led to you guys without a relationship with somebody else who actually introduced me to you guys and said, hey, I love this podcast. I think you should be on it. I think you guys are going to add value to each other. And so that's how, relationships is how the world turns. And so I think masterminds they're okay for the learning part, but they're more for the relationships. And I think probably a mistake that people make going in is going there only for the education. Because sometimes you can be of value to that room. And the value you bring to that room also brings more relationships to you. Because a lot of capital raisers work with me. I don't have to go into a room pretending that I need to get something out of it. I could just go there to bring value to other people, and be a resource for them to learn or to raise capital with or do whatever. And usually, even in those instances where I think I might not have anything to learn, I always learn something from somebody at all times. There's never been a mastermind or a coach or anybody that I've ever been involved with where I haven't learned something from them. And I think that's just the the secret to success is just staying humble and always be willing to learn and surround yourself with the right people.
Absolutely. With any advice you give to somebody that's like looking to join a mastermind?
Yeah, I would say interview masterminds. That's what I always did. I would find the masterminds that I wanted to be a part of and why. So one of the very first masterminds I joined was actually Bill Allen's. And every now and then I shout him out because it was my very first mastermind. And I interviewed 3 people that were doing, flips and were in the real estate space. And I was like, okay, I really want to learn this. And I believe in learning with other people. And I also have had one-on-one coaches, which is great because you have that one-on-one attention. But you learn so much more when you get to hear everybody else's stories and what they're going through. And when you're like in this big Facebook group and you get to hear like, I just, screwed up this deal and here's what happened, or I just had a home run, or this is what's working for me. Like you learn so much faster. And it was actually when I was in that particular mastermind, it was during COVID. And I don't know that I would have had as much confidence as I did going through COVID, but because we were all going through it together and we all got to share with each other and help each other along the journey, it made all the difference in the world. So, when I say interview, it's really culture fit is not the right value alignment. It's value alignment. When I was on 3 phone calls, there was 2 people pitching me. And there was one person who's like, what is it that you want? What are your goals? Tell me what you're trying to do. He didn't care whether I joined his mastermind or not. Maybe he did, and this was his sales style. But like, it made me feel like this guy actually like wants to understand who I am and what I'm after. He's not after like the commission of actually, selling me into his mastermind. And that meant something to me. And it's why when people jump on a phone call with Freedom, like that's so important, right? Don't pitch the product. Who cares about the product? You can get a return anywhere. You can get a return with a million different people. You can invest in real estate with all these other people. Why are you coming to Freedom? Because we care about actually getting you to where you want to go. That's how I felt about that particular person. And that's why I joined that mastermind. And it turns out the people in that mastermind were all people that were exactly had those same type of values and same type of like give back mentality. Like we're here for each other. We're here to help each other. We're here to understand each other and where we want to go. We're not here to say, pound on our chest and with big ego say, this is what I did. This is what I did. Come follow me. I'm the best. We are all very humble about where we were. And we probably shared more bad stories than we ever shared good stories. And that's the type of people I want to be around.
Yeah, that's great. That's yes. As soon as you were talking to me about the first or talking to us about the first mastermind, the first thing that came to my mind was how you guys also look at investors. You want to make sure it's a good fit. It's a partnership. It's not just sales.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah, I like that value alignment. That's really cool. Yeah, amazing.
You also talk about the burnout trap a lot. Talk to us about what does the burnout trap mean to you?
I think it's misalignment of where you want to go. It's lack of defining where you want to go. It's inheriting other people's beliefs. Some of us, and I fell into this trap, get super excited about how many deals we've done, get super excited about chasing a goal and a goal that continually moves because we keep on achieving the next thing, get super excited about our AUM. And we haven't really defined when enough is enough. And so we just go, 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 go. And this prison that we are trying to free ourselves of, this wealth and freedom, which is 2 different things in my opinion, because you can build wealth and scale and go big and have $1,000, $2,000, and keep building wealth. But did you actually achieve freedom? Like, did you get your time back? Do you have your time back? Or do you just have more responsibilities, more investors that you have to take care of, more stress, more of everything? And you just built yourself in a more expensive prison, essentially. And so I really believe that when you're scaling or when you're doing anything in life, you should have an enough is enough. Because otherwise you do the finish line does keep moving and you end up like getting addicted to the next deal or the next thing or the next accomplishment. And I don't know if you've ever read Gap in the Gain, but you forget to celebrate where you were and where you've come. And the fact that freedom is here right now, probably for you. For many people, they could say, crap, I'm actually free right now. Like if I wanted to be, but I haven't defined that where I'm at right now is enough. I'm still chasing something that I don't even know why I'm chasing it. And so I think the burnout trap happens when you just keep going for the sake of going and inheriting other people's opinions, beliefs, benchmarks, goals, what they think is good for their life. And they're inherently inheriting it from other people. And so it's like this big, circle. And I just think, we all just need to sit down and decide what it is that we want. And at some point in time, if we say, hey, I want to have $1,000, if that's truly what we want, and we've defined and said why, then go find somebody with $1,000 and ask them what their life is like. And then if you like their life at $1,000, then go pursue your dream because you've defined it and you found out what that life actually really is like. So you're going in eyes wide open. So I think the lack of that type of asking yourself those questions is what leads to the burnout trap.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. It's I feel like we all do get caught up in just, the next deal, the next deal, the next deal, but really figuring out that what's enough, what is enough for you. I think that's a really smart way of thinking about things.
I read something this morning as I was preparing for this podcast, and it was real estate is a vehicle for freedom. Real estate is not freedom. And when I read that, I was like, oh, I don't think a lot of us actually, take that into consideration. We do think that if I get into real estate, I'm going to be free. And we don't realize that it's just the vehicle that we ourselves have the opportunity to define what freedom really is.
Yeah, I wonder how many people actually define it too, to your point, Dani. How many people probably define what that looks for them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's unrelated, but kind of a fun tangent. I was listening to like the Bigger Pockets podcast, and the guy did an experiment. He goes, if you had essentially whatever you start out with 5 properties in this example, and if you just took $2,500 every month, obviously assuming you could make $2,500 a month, and you could either pay down those properties, or on the other hand, you spend the next 30 years, you keep putting that $2,500 towards a new property. Once you hit 100K, you buy another property. And at the end of it, it's really, if you had those 5 properties paid off, you're cash flowing, whatever it is in 13 years, versus if you kept building and building and building, at the end of it, your equity portfolio is much larger. But to your point, you really end up, you're taking on a ton more work, and these properties aren't paid off. For what it's worth, you have that bigger equity, but you also have that bigger headache at the end of the day.
Exactly right. And I think that's that borrowed, inherited mindset. You think, I need more doors. You think leverage is better. You shouldn't pay off your property. That doesn't make sense. How many gurus or people on social media are preaching something that is true maybe for them, or they heard it somewhere else and they think I'm going to be really smart by actually saying this. They haven't actually defined it. So yeah, to your point, I think sharing things like these actually gets people thinking for the first time, because we're not parroting what everybody else is saying. And I think that's what makes a podcast different. I think that's thought leadership, is not taking what everybody else is saying and just saying the exact same thing, and you don't even actually have the belief and conviction yourself behind it. And being honest about, my conviction is probably not your conviction. Have you asked yourself why you're doing it? Have you defined it? Have you said, what is enough for me? Because there's one thing to chase success because you want to. There's another thing to chase success because you have to, because you're pursuing everybody else's definition of what success is.
Yeah, well said. Well said, Dani. I got final question to ask you. You've written 3 books: Get Real, Calm Money Never Panics, and Prosperity RX. Talk to us about who is the audience that you wrote this for, and kind of what's the line kind of connecting all these books.
Absolutely. So Get Real was when I was in the turnkey business. So I don't even know if it's live on Amazon anymore because I switched models and I don't preach what I don't believe in. So it's not that I don't believe turnkey. I think it's right. It can be right for the right person. It's not right for me anymore. I don't believe it for everything that I shared in this podcast. But Prosperity RX is for physicians. It's teaching them the two engines, right? They love helping people. They love healing people. That is their passion. That's what they're built for, why they're here on earth. And they need to be taught that's their first engine. That's their active income. Okay, now they need to build their second engine, the second engine that actually makes them free so that they're doing all of this healing and helping because they want to, not because they too are chasing somebody else's definition of success and what a physician should be living like or pursuing. Because a lot of doctors will tell you they have a lot of money just sitting around because they don't know who to trust. They'll also tell you that they don't understand finances and they don't want to look stupid. So they're going to probably invest in something that they don't fully understand. They're also going to tell you that they don't know what enough is enough and they don't know how to achieve freedom and what that means for them in their life. So that's what Prosperity RX is about. I wrote it with another physician and he's the one that really taught me the physician mindset and what they go through. And then Calm Money Never Panics is the one I just released. It hit #1 seller on Amazon as soon as we released it. And we're super excited about that one. That has everything to do with what we're talking about today. Panic attacks, intentional investing, having conviction about what you're doing, defining what it is that you want out of life, truly reaching freedom in a way that it is calm. I mean, don't we all want to live a life that's stress-free, that we're following our joy, we're spending time with our friends and our family, doing things that we love? Don't we want to get to that point sooner rather than later? Instead of inheriting the mindset that the stock market is the place to invest and volatility is okay, and that you only have one choice. I don't know, all the things that everybody says that inherently you just are okay with. Like, I want to change the mindset. And so that's what Calm Money Never Panics is about. Is it's okay to stay steady. It's okay to be calm. It's okay to intentionally invest into what's going to achieve your goals and let other people chase success and live the life that they think they want until they reach their 40s and 50s and realize it's not what they wanted at all.
Yeah, I love it. I love that you put the pieces together there as well.
Yeah, that's great.
I got one more fun question for you before we wrap it up. What's a piece of conventional wisdom about real estate that you think is just flat out wrong?
I think it's what I said earlier. I think real estate is a vehicle for freedom. It's not freedom. I think a lot of people view real estate as how they're going to get to freedom. But because without answering the right questions, they never achieve it and they end up building that bigger prison. They end up chasing the wrong things. And they need to understand the difference between building wealth and actual freedom itself. They need to understand the difference between real estate as a vehicle, not as the definition of freedom. And I think that's the biggest thing, because we've all read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. We all know real estate is a wealth builder. We just don't take the definition and pick it apart enough to understand how it applies to our lives so that we can build wealth and freedom at the same time.
Amazing point. Well, Dani, this is a great spot to wrap up. Thank you so much for joining us today. Where could people go to connect with you and learn more about Freedom Family Investments?
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. It was such a pleasure to be here with you guys. They can go to chatwithfreedom.com and you can schedule a 15-minute clarity call with the team. Again, it's all goals oriented. We told you exactly how we work. We want to know about you. We want to help you define these things so you can live a nice, peaceful, calm life, see how real estate does apply to you, see if it's a fit. And we actually put a promo code in there. And so if you put alt funds in that promo code, we'll know that you were listening to this podcast and that's how you found us, which is great, because then we can tell these guys and say, hey, look, all these people came to us from you, and we just want to say thank you and be appreciative of that relationship. But you also get a copy of my free book, of my book for free, Calm Money Never Panics. So put in the promo code ALT funds. And if you happen to be a fund of funds manager, because I know you guys are doing series about that stuff, you can schedule a clarity call if you want. But if you just want to reach me and talk about what we do and help us and raise capital with us and align with us, you can email me at danny@freedomfamilyinvestments.com. And again, put in the subject line alt funds, because I'm not in my email and my assistant needs to know to forward me that email so that I can reach out to you and we can have a conversation.
Awesome. Well, Danny, this has been a great conversation. We appreciate your time and insight, and we'll make sure to put all your contact info in the show notes as well.